Okay, so we are on 2-3 day 2. Yes? Okay, on Thursday, I showed you the zero property and just basically said you have to set it equal to 0 before you can before you can factor to solve, right? So we did these 2 examples. I just wanted to remind you of that. So we have 2 more examples. So I have x squared plus 8x equals 20. Oh, actually, I forgot. Do I have any questions on your assignment?
No, that made sense last night.
Made
Yeah,
sense?
it did.
We're just factored, right? Just factor.
Actually,
Guess
I
what
got
you're
it
gonna
Friday, not last night.
what?
I got the notification.
I tried
and
I did it
was like,
Friday.
I should do this, but I don't want to.
Okay, but all we're doing is factoring, and this, we're gonna keep it up today.
I tried
So the
to
first thing I have to do is set it equal to what?
do zero.
Zero. So I can move it left or right, but why would I move everything left and not right?
So you don't have a negative coefficient.
So I don't have a negative
A.
leading coefficient, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm gonna have negative coefficients. I just don't want a negative leading coefficient because that just adds work, right?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna subtract 20 from both sides, not with an eraser. So that gives me x squared plus 8x minus 20 equals 0. So a is 1. So the first thing I do every single time is do AC, correct? So a times c is negative 20. So I need the factors of 20 that have a difference of 8.
10, negative 2.
Positive 10 and negative 2. Now, do you guys want me to do the whole factoring by grouping or just put them into factors?
Factoring by grouping.
Okay,
Well, wait.
so this
Goes into the eight.
goes for that, yes? So I have x squared plus 10x minus 2x minus 20. So these 2 terms equal positive 8x when I combine them, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so then I group the first 2, and they have in common an x. So I have x plus 10. I group the second 2, and you always take the first sign, whatever the first sign is, and this one is a negative, right? And they both have a 2 in common. So then I'm left with x plus 10. How do I know if I did this right?
If your things match.
If my 2 quantities are the same, I've done this right. So did I do it right?
Yes.
Yes.
Man.
So now I have one term right here and another term right here. What do those 2 terms have in common?
X plus
Plus
10.
X plus 10.
So I'm going to factor out an x plus 10, and I have left over
X
minus
minus 2.
x minus 2.
I like
And
that.
then you have to set them equal to 0.
Okay, so this one just, so it does say solve. So these are what? What did I just end up with?
A factor.
Factors. So these are factors.
Um,
And I'm going to talk about this because on your assignment, I don't care if you go through it the whole way every single time. But on the test, if I ask you for the factors and you give me the zeros, am I going to take off?
Probably.
Yes. Because I want to know if you know what a factor is, correct? I want to know if you know what a zero is. I want to know if you know what a solution is. Okay? So when I set them equal to 0, and I have like 2 individual equations, don't I? So on the left, I would subtract 10. So I'd have x equals negative 10. And on the right, I would add 2. So I have x equals 2. So what are these things called?
Those are called zeros,
Zeros.
or solutions.
Or solutions. Then what if I wanted x-intercepts?
You would write them like negative 10,
As an
0.
order pair.
As an ordered pair. Good job. Or an ordered coordinate pair. Ordered pair or coordinate pair, either one, those are some words they would use. Okay, coordinate means x and y coordinate plane, right? So we need to know the difference between factors, zeros, solutions, and x-intercepts. Solutions is kind of nice because, I mean, when I tell you factoring is fundamental, like it is the basis of all algebra at any level because do you always want to know what makes something true?
Yes.
Yes. So those are those x-intercepts, those are those solutions.
At least you should.
Okay? So I want you to try this one on your own. Okay, did you get 2x plus 1 and x minus 2 as your factors?
Eventually.
Eventually,
Yeah, I just had a negative. I was kind of stumped.
okay. Do I need to go through the whole process?
No.
Anybody? If I do, say it.
Yes.
What? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so first thing I always do is what? A times C, so negative 4. So I need the factors of negative 4, and since it's negative, I want difference, right?
2 and 2.
No,
Negative
1 and 4.
1 and 4, because I want negative 3. So it's going to be negative 4 and positive 1. So substituting these in for that 3, you have 2x squared minus 4x plus x minus 2.
Yes, ma'am.
First two have what in common?
2.
2
2 and
x. So I have x minus 2. The second two have what in common?
1.
1. There's always a 1. That's not nothing. It's always a 1 at least, right? And you take the sign of whatever that's in front of that second right here. So I have x minus 2. Did I do this correctly?
Yes,
Yeah.
because your quantities.
Because my quantities are the same. Now, we can technically group any of these 4 things with each other. Now, they don't always work. So if you think you need to factor by grouping and you group the first 2 and the last 2 and they don't work, try grouping different ones and see if they work, okay? So then, what do they both have in common?
X minus 2.
X minus 2, and what do they have left?
2x plus 1.
2x plus 1. Now, what I did personally is I did in my head negative 4. I knew I needed negative 4 and 1. And then I went like this, and I know these are the factors of A. Well, the only factors of 2 are 2 and 1. Yes? And the only way I'm going to get negative 4 is if that's a negative 2. Yes? And so this better be 1. Well, 1 is the other factor of 2, so it goes 1 and plus. Okay? Either way works for you, do it. The only problem I have with this is this way right here is sometimes you forget what are you undoing? You're undoing multiplication, correct? So should I be doing this multiplication and this multiplication to be checking my work?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, you should be constantly doing multiplication as you're checking, as you're going. Okay, so set both of them equal to 0, correct? So what do I have here though? What are those?
Factors.
Factors. When I set them equal to 0, what am I finding?
The solutions.
Zeros
And solution.
and or, right? Solutions. Now, guys, it's really funny because you're like, how do I find the zeros of a function? Set it equal to what? 0. And it kind of tells you in the name, right? So add 2 here,
2 minus 1.
and minus 1, and
Over 2.
divide by 2. Okay, so I have zeros, solutions, now x-intercepts.
Negative 1/2, 0, and then 2, 0. No, flip them. Please.
Left to right, always.
I write it like that the first time.
Because I don't want to confuse you guys. I would never write it on my paper like this.
Well, that's not how I wrote it.
I write negative 1. I always go least to greatest, always. It's not wrong, but it's one of those things because when you graph things, you go left to right always. So if you line them up,
So make it.
I just wanted to be consistent.
it doesn't matter, right?
Well, no.
One time I had an answer. I said 8 equal to x, and the kid told me I was wrong.
You're not.
No,
And
you're
I'm like,
definitely
why am
wrong.
I wrong? He's like, because you have to write it 8x equals 8. Do I have to write it that way? No.
X is the same thing.
Just like if I say x is greater than 8, can I write 8 is less than x?
If you really
Yeah.
want to be like
It's the same exact thing, isn't it?
If
So
you
it
want to
doesn't
be-
matter. It doesn't matter how we write things. It doesn't make them wrong.
If you want it to be difficult.
So we're gonna have some application problems today, at least one. So it says a multi-level driving range has 3 levels. Marco hits the golf ball from the second level, which is 32 feet high. The height of the ball, x seconds after Marco hits it, is modeled by the function h of x, h for height. is negative 16x squared plus 16x plus 32. When does the ball hit the ground? Before we do anything, I want to talk about this. Why is this a negative function?
Because it's
Because
like,
it's going
Phew,
down.
right, we're gonna, anything I hit, throw, kick, it's gonna go up and go up, back
Yeah.
down. So it's gonna be a negative, yes?
Yeah.
Where does this 32 come from?
That's
That's the max height. That's where, that's the y-intercept, isn't it?
mhm.
So you see him over here. So what I really have
That's the line.
is the x and the y-axis, correct? So this is 32. Does this parabola really go down like this also?
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And does it keep going here?
yeah.
Yeah. Now, we've talked about, actually, this would be
Ground.
solid to here, and then it would be dotted.
Yeah.
We've talked about the domain of a quadratic equations is all real numbers or infinity, right? Negative infinity, positive infinity, unless it's in a what? Application problem. So, what is my domain going to be here?
The domain is going to be
What's the first number I want in my domain? 0.
0.
Yes? Because I can't have negative seconds, can I?
No.
So it's going to be 0 is less than equal to x, which is less than equal to, and we got to figure out what this is right here, don't we? Because after that, it's not going to go underground, is it?
Yes.
If he hits it really hard, I guess. But, I mean, that's not viable in this situation. In the equation, but not in the situation. Does that make sense to everybody? So we need to find this right here, and what is it?
That's an x-intercept.
S and x-intercept, which came from a what?
A solution.
A solution, which came from a
A factor.
factor, which came from setting the equation equal to 0. So is that what I need to do?
Yeah.
Yes. So I have to put this as all equal to 0. That's easy, right?
Yeah.
So before I factor it, I always should take out if they have a common factor, correct?
Yeah, like negative 16.
Like negative 16. So we have 0 equals negative 16. So we get x squared minus x minus 2. That's amazing to factor, isn't it?
Yeah.
Much better than what I had initially, right?
Uh-huh.
Is that always going to work out that nice?
No.
I wish.
You wish. So this one should be easy to factor. I shouldn't have to go through the whole process on this one, should I?
No.
Because I have 1 as the leading coefficient. Okay, so I have negative 16. Don't forget about it.
I already forgot about it.
Okay, the factors of x are x and x. The factors of 2 are 2 and 1. And what's negative?
The two.
Negative 2 and...
Plus 1.
Why is the 2 negative?
Because it's a negative x.
Because I want a negative 1 when I'm done, right?
Yeah.
And it's this times this and this times that. That gives me that negative 1. Okay? So I got a factor. That was easy. Now I have to set everything equal to what? 0. Now, can negative 16 equal 0?
No.
No, because there's no variable there, right?
Yeah.
So if I put a variable, the answer would be 0, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, but there's no, so this is nothing, don't work. Okay, when I set this equal to 0, I get x equals 2. When I set this equal to 0, I get x equals negative 1. So over here, this is negative 1, yeah?
Why'd you turn it into a negative half last time?
Because it was positive 1.
No.
Okay?
You subtracted 1
It
and
was-
divided by 2.
Yeah, I subtracted, it was positive 1, so I subtracted 1 and divided by 2. You're just solving the equation. Okay, so I have my solutions right here, correct? So this is negative 1, and this is 2. Do I care about this negative 1? Is that a good solution here?
No, that's not.
Why not?
Because that's not the ball.
That would be negative 1 seconds before I hit the ball. Is that, no.
No.
So that's a solution, but it's not a good one, is it?
No.
So you just go like that. Don't scribble it out. Because negative 1 is the solution, but is it a good one in this situation?
No.
No. Do not scribble it out because I'm looking for it and for you to tell me it's not good. So what's my domain going to be? 0 to what?
2.
2. And again, The function itself is negative infinity to positive infinity. But since I put it in this situation, it's only from 0 to what? 2. So now we need to answer the question. When does the ball hit the ground?
2 seconds.
So the ball, we got a complete sentence. The
Oh, wow.
ball
Hits
Hits.
the ground.
the ground
2 seconds after.
2 seconds after, what's his name, Marco, right?
Marco.
Marco
Polo.
hits it. Got a question?
Hmm?
Did you have a question? Yeah. Okay. So, not too bad. Pretty much what we've done, right?
I did that first, but then
Okay.
I realized that was it.
Okay. So, again, -1 is a solution, but does it fit my situation?
No.
No.
Because you can't have negatives.
Can't have negative signs.
I mean, you can delay for 1 second.
Yeah, but, okay, was the ball really 1 second before it was hit on the ground?
Yes.
No, it wasn't.
How do you?
It was right up here waiting for him to hit it.
Maybe he.
No.
Or maybe it
That
fell
was
off and
the
then-
ground.
Someone
just
grabbed
knocked
it,
the ground
tossed
to
it
his
up there, he
Okay.
sat down, bam.
A baseball is
Gone.
thrown from the upper deck of a stadium 128 feet above the ground. The function is h of x equals -16x squared plus 32x plus 128. Give the height of the ball. Gives the height of the ball x seconds after it's thrown. How long will it take for it to hit the ground?
You can do
Did they ask how long it would take for it to be at the max?
Yeah.
That would be the vertex, right? And you just have to find that x.
You divide by 8.
8?
Or 16.
I think 16 goes into 128.
Because 4 times.
8.
8.
8.
Well,
Because it wouldn't be
yeah.
4 because you need 8.
Yeah.
Yeah? Everyone get how I did that?
no.
Like 16 could be in 128, it could be 3, and 16 times 3 is not 128, is it?
No.
No. Or it could be 8. Because 3 times 6 is 18, and 6 times 8 is 48.
Yeah.
So I just, in my head, I tried, 3 I knew wouldn't be big enough. So 8, carry a 4.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to factor out a -16, yeah? And if you didn't see -16, you could factor out a -8, and then guess what you'd have to do again? You'd factor out a 2, and you'd have -16 out there. Nothing wrong with that, right? Just take you 2 seconds long. So I have x squared minus 2x minus 8.
Yeah.
Okay, so 1 times -8 is -8.
8.
Now 1 is my leading coefficient, so that's just going to be x and x, isn't it?
Yep.
And factors of 8 that have a difference of 2.
-4.
-4 and positive 2. So I factored it. Oh, I didn't draw us a picture.
No, you didn't.
He was drawing baseball stadium.
Dang it, she's not.
There's my baseball stadium. This is 128, correct?
Yeah.
And this is so not, I read okay. So we're going to get an answer here and an answer here.
No, it's gotta be out.
It would be out further, but my picture's not there.
Well, that negative.
Well, you
Okay,
could've scooted
So
your
does
picture over.
-16 ever equal 0?
No,
No, why not?
because you don't have a
Because
variable.
you
I
said
don't have a
so.
variable. If I had a variable, it would be 0, correct?
Mhm.
Okay, then x equals what for the first one?
-2.
And what for the second one?
4.
4.
That negative
So
2
this
won't
is
work.
-2, and this is 4. And why doesn't -2 work?
Because you can't go back even though it's already at its max.
Yeah, we're not going back in time, right?
It didn't take
So how long does it
4.
take for it to reach the ground?
4
seconds.
seconds.
4 seconds.
Just saying, I guessed that before we even did the problem.
Did ya?
Yeah. You want a cookie? Actually, I do. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of stupid if you didn't.
Do you have to write this out in a complete sentence?
Yes. And technically I shouldn't even put 4. I should write the word. You guys know the rule on
Yeah.
writing
I
out
thought about
words?
saying something last time, but I didn't want to be like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna
We do that in English. Every
So
day.
what's the rule?
It's under 10, right?
It's just something.
I think it's under 10. You have to write it out.
It's just not.
10 and under, you write the word.
That's-
Okay. It takes the ball 4 seconds to hit the ground. You could have said 4 seconds after the ball is thrown, it will hit the ground. Correct? Should be a complete sentence.
Ball hits ground in 4 seconds.
No, probably not.
Ball hit.
Ball hit
Ball, ground, 4 seconds. Yeah, no.
All equal
I
ground.
mean,
All
it's
ground.
some,
four.
it sums
I am
it
not
up.
an English major, but that's not a complete
I mean,
sentence.
it
Ball
sums it
to
up
ground
pretty
in
well.
4
So.
seconds.
Okay. So, last example we have is positive and negative. We've done this before. When is a graph positive? When it's what?
Above
Above the x-axis. When is it negative?
Below.
Below. Where does that
Negative.
happen at? Where's the change happen at? At the x-intercepts, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, is this graph gonna go open up or down? Up. I think all of them up and open up, and that really disappoints me because I wish they would put them down. Like I think the other ones open up also.
No.
So if I don't graph this correctly, because I'm not asking you to find the vertex. I could find the vertex, right? And I'd get an exact graph. But all I want to know where is it positive or negative. So it's important that I know whether it opens up or down because I would have everything completely opposite if I drew it the wrong way, wouldn't I? Okay, so I have to factor all that stuff. Is it set equal to 0?
Yes.
Yep, factor it.
That's it. Okay.
I hope when 1 is your leading coefficient, you're not doing the whole way, but if you have to, that's fine. Guys got done?
Well, I have to find a positive and negative.
Oh, no, but you got this.
Oh yeah.
Do you have x minus 3 and x plus 1?
Yes.
I did that.
Okay, now I have to set both of these equal to what?
0.
0.
Is it still right? It's like the other way around.
Because it's multiplication, it's commutative.
Making sure.
So x equals negative 1 and
3.
3. How did I get negative 1 and 3?
Because you subtracted.
I just solved. I solved the equation, right? That's all I
Yeah.
did.
Opposite.
Okay, so now it goes through negative 1
And 3.
and 3, and it opens what?
Up.
Up.
It didn't quite go
It's
through
not even
the
one
uniform.
I just made it bigger. Okay,
Moved it a little
so
bit.
I always put on my paper positive, negative, and we always start where?
Middle.
No, we always start
Up,
negative infinity
negative,
and
yeah.
always end. Positive infinity. So is this graph going to be above the x-axis first or below?
Above.
Above. So negative infinity to what? Negative 1 is positive. Then what?
Negative 1 to the negative 3. No, not negative 3.
And then where?
And positive.
3 to positive infinity. Did I cover the entire negative infinity to positive infinity?
You did.
Yes. Why do I have no brackets? Why are these all parentheses?
Because
So
it's
you
all
can't be
that.
positive or negative at the
Add a
x-axis.
0, it's basically constant. It's 0, correct?
Yeah.
A 0 is 0. So that's it. Have we done this before?
Yeah.
But I gave you a picture, didn't I? I didn't make you graph it. So now you're going to have to graph.
Okay.
Factor.
None good.
Give me a second.
Well, I just did the
27.
easy part.
God, so demanding.
I am, always.
She wants the best. She expects the best.
Well, you're not gonna do the best.
Why not?
I want
Because
your
I'm not
best.
the best.
I want your best.
My
Me,
best
that's
is going to be an
kind
F in this class, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
whatever.
My grade is a F.
You guys done yet?
It's probably because you don't
It's
need
negative
it.
7.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. So I've got x minus 3. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I did it on both of those. I mixed up the signs. Like the first one, I had a negative 1 and a positive 3, and I just had a positive 7 and negative 3.
Okay.
F3.
So you need to draw that on your paper. Those two things. And you need to do that multiplication. And make sure it equals your middle term. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then you would catch that every time you factor, Elena, do that after to check that middle term, and you'll stop doing that, okay?
Wait,
I got
7
I
times
had X
1
minus 3
does
and
not
X
equal.
I have +3 and -7, which gives me -4.
Okay, fine.
And it's just that, okay? This multiplication combined with this multiplication gives you your middle term. That's in that FOIL.
A way
Okay.
to figure it out too is if it's a minus something x, the first one's always going to be negative.
No,
It should
no. I could write it like this.
I hope you don't.
No.
Oh.
Steal
know what? I'm done.
Right?
Steal,
You could, but
Okay,
yeah.
the larger, listen, the
That's
larger
different.
number will be negative. But you have to be careful with that because if your one isn't your leading coefficient, it's the larger, it's this multiplication and this
We already know
multiplication
the problem.
always,
you know what?
okay?
I'm done.
But you're trying to generalize something that you can't generalize.
I always try to generalize.
Okay, so what do I get?
7 and -3. But
Negative
-3
3
and
and
7.
7.
Okay,
You wanna fight?
Yes.
No, it probably hurt me.
and it opens what?
It
Huh?
opens up.
Up.
Up. No, it was up.
Sorry,
That was on a Barbie guitar.
Okay, now, listen, if I did this opening down, all of my answers would be backwards, wouldn't they?
Yep.
So watch, just make sure. So positive, negative. So does it start positive or negative? So negative infinity to negative 3 to.
7 and 7, 2
Is it always going to alternate?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if it wasn't, you wouldn't make an interval, would you? Okay. So what if I ask you where is it decreasing at?
Go. That to vertex and then vertex to that.
Okay. So we would go from it'd be decreasing from negative infinity to negative b over 2a. Yes.
Yeah.
What's negative b over 2a?
Your vertex.
The
The
Your
vertex,
X.
right?
The X in your vertex.
It'd be decreasing right to here, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay, and then it would be negative b over 2a
To infinity. And beyond.
to infinity. It would be increasing. And I could do that really quick, couldn't I?
Yeah.
So it'd be 4 over 2, so it'd be what? 2? This is 2, and that's 2. So we can do a lot of stuff we've been doing, but now we're more exact. We can do it on our own.
You know what?
Now, I have these. Okay. We're not going to do a system equations, all that kind of stuff. What we have here, it says write an equation of a parabola with x-intercepts. Gentlemen, you need to stop talking when I am, because you're not listening. Okay, I have x-intercepts at -2 and -1. Yes? -2, 0, -1, 0. Where did x-intercepts come from? Go up from the bottom.
It came from the solution.
It came from the solutions, which came from
the
factors,
that
which
you
came
set
from a
to zero.
polynomial. So guess what we're doing? Working back up. So, -2 equaled x, yes? Oops, that's an x. I need to make it a factor, so I need to what? Add 2. So I get x plus 2. And it was -1 equals 0. Not 0, x.
Plus
So-
1.
So I need to
Plus 1.
add 1. So I get
Plus 1.
x plus 1.
Oh no.
I'm just going back up the problem. Okay?
So 3.
So this is y equals a. What's that a, guys?
Okay.
That a is like that rate of change, right? Whether it's narrower or wider. So what do I need to do with these two things?
Mush them together.
I need to distribute them. I need to FOIL them.
2x squared. Yeah. X squared.
So I've got x squared. And I've got 1x and 2 x's. So I have
3x.
3x plus 2. So now I have an equation with an a in it. How can I get rid of the a? What is that?
That's your A.
That's my x and y. It didn't say it's a vertex. It just says it passes through it. So it's just a point on this equation, correct? And if I have an x and a y, can I solve for the a?
Yeah.
So y is 20 equals a, and x is -3, so I have -3 squared plus 3 times -3 plus 2.
So it's gonna be.
So 20
9
equals
squared
a,
Nine.
9
plus
minus
2
9 plus 2.
So 2. A equals 2.
No, this is a times,
Oh.
so it's 20 equals
A.
2a.
And then divide by 2.
What's your first?
Yeah,
So
it's
that would
that
be
thing in
10.
the parentheses.
Yeah, you've got like C minus 3.
Yeah.
No, that's a parenthesis.
But what's the?
Yeah, but
it's
-3 squared. You put parentheses around what you're plugging in.
I get it
Is
now.
that -3
Okay,
is
because I
X.
was like, she's got 2 parentheses and I didn't realize.
Yeah, you do have 2 parentheses. Okay, so divide by 2,
10.
so a is 10. Now I need to take that.
What?
20 divided by 2 is 10.
Divide by 3.
Because this is multiplication.
Yeah,
So you undo multiplication with division. Okay, so a is what? 10. So I plug it here. So y equals 10 times x squared plus 3x plus 2. Now what?
Well, you distribute that.
I distribute my 10. So y equals 10x squared plus 30x plus 20. Now, I want everyone to stop and think. If I started you here, what would you do? You'd factor out a 10, correct?
And you get
And
that.
then you would factor, right?
Yeah.
And then you'd set equal to 0, and you go back.
Yeah.
So you're going from the bottom of the problem
To the top.
to the top.
I always mess up with the smallest things.
Okay, one more.
Mess up
I think we need one more, don't you?
Yeah.
Go back to it.
Sure.
Back, never mind.
When? Can we go back?
It's okay, I'll look at it.
Oh, I was looking at Taylor, sorry. Elena, do you want me to go back?
I'll look at it later.
Okay. So, I got an x-intercept and an x-intercept, so I need to put those.
X equals
I have
-3.
-3 equals x, and I have 3 equals x, correct?
Yeah.
Now I need to set those to 0, because that's where they came from, right? So I would add 3. So I get x plus 3.
Good.
And I need to subtract 3, because I'm setting these back equal to 0, right? And so I have y equals a times that. Because my a can be anything, but I'll still get my x-intercepts the same as long as I don't put an extra x in there, correct?
What's the rule for it to be positive and negative, but it can also be positive and positive?
What, are you talking about this,
Yeah.
the conjugates? Yeah, these are a conjugate pair, aren't they? So when I FOIL that out, what's gonna happen to my middle term?
It's gonna be 9. It's gonna be.
Let's see what it's gonna be.
Is our one, is the
It's,
one
there's
two
no
the,
middle term. It'll just be x
Just a
squared.
second, what?
Is the coordinate 1, 2, what is that? Like,
That's just it passes through it. We're gonna
Okay.
use that to find the a. Okay, so when they're conjugate pairs, I'm going to have x squared minus 3x plus 3x minus 9.
Yeah.
What is gonna happen every time with those conjugate
Right.
pairs?
Those are gonna cancel each other out.
It's gonna be 0. They're gonna 0 out every single time. But be careful, because that doesn't happen if I take x plus 3 squared, does it?
No.
Because x plus 3 squared is going to be 6x plus 9, because it's x plus 3 times x plus 3, correct? So be careful you're not just jumping to conclusions, okay? So I have y equals a x squared minus 9.
Yeah.
So I have the whole thing, but I need to figure out an a. So now, Elena, that's where I'm going to use that 1, 2. Because it's my x and my
Why?
y.
The y
So
is
2 equals a times, well, 1 squared is 1 minus 9,
It's 8.
so it's negative 8.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
And then I divide by negative 8.
Yep, then you get a fraction, you get 1/4.
So A equals negative 1/4. And then I have to take it, plug it right back in.
So y equals.
So Y equals negative 1/4 x squared minus 9. And just distribute it. Don't even worry about it being a fraction. Negative 1/4 x squared plus 9/4.
Yeah.
So I just went from the bottom up, didn't I?
Yeah.
Yes, you do.
The only difference is you gotta calculate this A. The only difference. Now A could come out to be 1, but we're not guaranteed that, are we?
No.
So you gotta calculate it. Questions? Elena, do you want me to go back a slide?
Yeah.
Okay. So, any other questions before I stop our video? Okay, now I did